The police force swarms Hiro, but his grit allows him to escape from the police. He is now a fugitive, running away on his jetpack, crying. He finds a place to sit and starts contemplating the past events. He accesses the internet, seeing his picture plastered all over the news. Xian finds him and brings him to her apartment, as he can no longer go back to his house. At school, Hiro's classmates talk about his true identity. Hiro accesses more information about current events, as he keeps to himself in Xian's apartment. When the latter comes back from school, Hiro and her grandmother have dinner. They exchange pleasantries the entire night, and Hiro eventually considers killing both residents, but cannot do so. Meanwhile, Ando helps Ichiro with his new abilities. He teaches him how to absorb technology and make the most out of his skills. Ichiro then does a test flight with his new communication abilities, even accidentally shuttling himself to space. Hiro cries during the night as he watches his mother apologizing for his crimes. His indignance grows by the day, with online comments deeply destroying his psyche. He bursts into tears the following night, after he learns through the news that she has committed suicide. Hiro dies inside, saddened by his actions and the events taking place. After the news of his mother's death had spread, the media starts following Hiro's father, questioning his son's crimes and the death of his ex-wife. As the interview runs, Hiro appears, killing everyone in the scene, leaving only his father. After murdering everyone, he flies to an isolated area where he starts reading people's comments from 2chan via his ability. This infuriates Hiro, and he threatens to kill them all, beginning with Iwata, the person who sent his address to the media. He tortures Iwata, extracting as much information as possible. After going on a killing spree on 2chaners, Hiro decides to go back home to Xian and her grandmother. Having spent a day in bed, Xian worries about him and tries to connect. Hiro remembers the first death he ever witnessed, a man dying in front of a train. As he tries to sleep away from his problems, Xian hears more of Hiro's crimes. She tries to approach him in the middle of the night, discussing the murders he's been accused of. Shishigami opens up to her and confesses to all his crimes, including his experience of becoming a robot. While she is afraid of him, Xian tries to understand what's happening. He references the lack of human experience he feels, even demonstrating his ability by taking her on a flight with him above the city. Xian realizes that Hiro plans on killing her, terrifying her even further. Xian begs him not to leave her and her grandma. She feels deep frustration that he can't take back all the lives he killed. Hiro, moved by her care towards him, promises to save lives as repentance for the people he murdered. The story shifts to Nakao, a woman who has end-stage cancer and expects to die alone. As she laments her life, Nakao plans to kill herself until she receives a mysterious message. She sits down in a park, saddened by how much she wants to keep living. She goes to an empty lot in her daily walks and sees a hooded stranger. The stranger, which is Hiro under concealment, touches her hand and starts to heal her. Now she's all healthy. All they ask from Nakao is to spread the word. Xian and Shishigami start approaching people on Twitter, asking them to secret meetings. Hiro continues to use his healing powers on them. The whole endeavor is very successful, and Hiro saves the lives of many. The entire process brings happiness to both Xian and himself. Hiro tries to be happy with Xian, proposing his love for her. The military comes to Xian's apartment during this time, preparing to raid it. SAT squads invade the small apartment in the middle of the night. They immobilize both Xian and her grandma, injuring them in the process. They then proceed to take on Hiro with their assault weapons. Hiro, unaffected by the swarm of bullets shooting at him, kills the entire squad. He finishes all of them, then flies away with his new family. As he secures them in an abandoned city area, Hiro heals them, leaving them behind. He then flies away, abandoning them to set off on his own. In the meantime, Ichiro practices his powers with Ando, but his daughter Mari sees their training by accident. She then follows Ichiro and Ando around, watching them visit a hospital. Mari realizes her father is the person performing miraculous healing events for other people. She also realizes that he can fly. That same night, Mari tells her desire to become a mangaka to her mother. Mari presents her bad grades, justifying that she will try to become a mangaka anyway and does not want to go to college. Her mother tries to reason with her, even roping Ichiro into the discussion. Ichiro, unexpectedly, supports his daughter's artistic endeavors. He agrees to help her achieve her goals because she graduates from high school without issue. Meanwhile, Xian and her grandmother return to their new, normal lives, living in a new apartment but are unaware of Hiro's whereabouts. They keep receiving money anonymously, thinking that Hiro is funding them. At the same time, Hiro goes on a rampage, killing an entire police station, exterminating everyone inside. As he kills everyone, the entire SAT goes down on him, with an entire swarm shooting him without fail. While he stays there undamaged, the news announces that he is now shot down. Hiro's body goes on autopilot mode, flying with his jetpack, shoots a beam of light that kills all the police in the vicinity. Hiro walks away, with the last police officer left alive in defeat. Hiro's police incident is all over the news, as the nation watches in horror as dozens of people die. Hiro fan clubs are spreading all over during this period, worshipping his unbelievable power. The boys think that what he's doing is cool, while some girls worship him for his pretty face. The police are ready for an all-out war, while society sympathizes with Hiro due to his invincibility. Ando and Ichiro are becoming concerned, but Hiro, lying on a rooftop, starts on his following plans. He then appears on screens all over Japan, noting that he plans to kill everyone in the country. He announces his plan to eradicate every single living person. Japanese person. He gets sympathy from the young and rebellious. Not much of the population takes him seriously, but he starts killing people by shooting them in the head as he uses various screens. Hiro kills indiscriminately, from his groupies to TV reporters on air. Ando tries to help Ichiro locate Hiro, who then realizes that the latter uses digital screens to shoot his victims. He then tries to avert the situation with Ichiro's help, sending a national message to Japanese citizens to discard their smartphones. The nation is in panic, but people cannot stop themselves from using their devices. Teenagers keep using their phones, noting how they cannot live without them. Regardless, Hiro threatens to kill 1,000 people the next day. Hiro continues to murder people relentlessly, and Ichiro goes on to try and help. Meanwhile, Hiro attempts to contact Xian, telling her about his plan to destroy Japan. He says that is the only way for him, Xian, and her grandmother to live happily together. He asks them to live with him somewhere else, like Hawaii or France. He's unable to convince Xian about his plans. She's not receptive to his plans, so Hiro releases his pent-up stress. Hiro drops an entire airplane on buildings, digitally hijacking it and killing the passengers within. Everyone inside dies, including families and babies. He drops more planes in the city, killing more and more people. Ichiro tries to help, only for him to be too late. Still, Ichiro tries to save at least one plane. He foils Hiro's plans, eventually saving several planes throughout the entire ordeal. Mari, who climbed the Tokyo Observatory, finds herself trapped within. Everyone on the top of the tower is asphyxiating, so she calls her father for help. As Ichiro is about to help Mari, Hiro finds him out, attacking him in the process. Hiro starts hating him and wants to take him on, hating him for being the hero and making him the story's villain. Ichiro fights a good fight, even with the inferiority of the grasp of his skills. Hiro relentlessly attacks, but he's unable to gain the upper hand. Their stalemate pushes Hiro to attack him from behind. Ichiro tries his best to get to Mari, fumbling around the city with Hiro on his tail. Ichiro desperately fights back to get to Mari on time. The old man ambushes Hiro from an explosion, blasting Hiro apart. Their almost unending battle results in explosions above Tokyo, but Ichiro gains the upper hand, tearing apart his hands and part of his skull. Hiro lands broken on the asphalt, but Ichiro luckily falls on a lake. He then refuels and immediately runs to Mari to find his daughter's dead body in the smoke and fire. Ichiro, grieving by the turn of events, tries to resuscitate his child. After a lot of effort, a flood of his powers, and tons of CPR, he manages to resurrect her. He guides Mari outside and tells her to go home, noting he will stay outside until the early morning, trying to save as many people as possible. As Ichiro saves the entirety of Tokyo, people start to believe in him as the coming of God. He heals everyone injured, even the ones on the verge of death. During this time, 2 women find a broken Hiro and offers him juice in the process. Ichiro returns home to his family in the morning after saving the people of Tokyo. His family saw his face on TV, aware that he is no longer human. As they interrogate him, Ichiro reveals his robotic body, apologizing for hiding it for so long. He admits that he may not be a fake, someone who looks like Ichiro. His wife asks him about their honeymoon, only for Ichiro to answer it clearly with all love and passion. She accepts him as her true husband, and the family comes together in the process. Meanwhile, Hiro visits Ando, lacking both his arms and parts of his head. Hiro claims he just wants to hang out with him and read manga like they always did. Ando rushes to call Ichiro. He justifies his betrayal, saying that this is no longer Hiro, but rather a killing machine. During this lull, people continue to wish Hiro to die, debating how many people he killed in the process. Going back to his normal life, Takeshi laments how he wants powers. Regardless, Ichiro talks some sense into his son, noting how important it is to appreciate normalcy. As time goes by, everything stays hunky-dory, but sudden news of a massive asteroid is about to hit the Earth. It is about to bring the end of human civilization due to its massive size. Amidst the entire process, Ichiro decides to leave his family and do something about the upcoming asteroid. As humanity loses its desire to live, he then goes on to space, flying towards the asteroid and trying to stop its momentum. Even with all his might, Ichiro's power is insufficient to make a dent. The sheer size of the asteroid makes it impossible to crush it. Ichiro keeps on trying but ends up lacking water in the process. Hiro shows up, informing him that he ran several simulations. He claims that if he self-detonates, he can change the trajectory of the asteroid. Ichiro contacts Ando, relaying the heroism that his best friend is about to do. As Hiro starts detonation, he explodes in a gigantic flash of energy that blinds the entirety of Earth. From the turn of events, it turns out that it was all for naught. Ichiro calls Ando one more time, giving the credit to Hiro, saying that he's going home. At this time, Ichiro starts his activation timer. The camera cuts to the Ichiro household, living their lives anew. As they're sad how Ichiro passed, they go on normally. Mari goes to a convenience store and opens a manga, only to see she has won the manga contest. She runs home in haste, telling her mother the good news.